They were expecting about 7,500 claimants.
And the numbers just kept going up and up and up.
It's not just about a financial settlement. It's about Boy Scouts admitting that they did wrong.
I don't think you can put a price on that. This is about figuring out how to move from victim to survivor.
I'm 40 years old before I tell someone. And when the detective says he confessed to abusing you, I must have read the email 100 times.
Oh, what a bright note to start off this Monday morning!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Brian Brushwood. Bryce, that looked like a
Very
sad
serious
show.
It was it is a serious documentary. That is Hulu's Leave No Trace, which is a documentary that traces the decades of abuse inside the Boy Scouts of America and talks to some of the former scouts and tries to put all that story together in one sort of documentary. That's streaming now on Hulu. Thank you.
All right.
Oof.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Important stuff,
Mhm.
honestly. Yeah. Well, thanks for that. Let's welcome in our guest today, Merrill Barr. Welcome back.
Great follow-up. Great lead-in.
Yes. And our expert in all things serious, Merrill Barr.
I'm excited to be here. It's an early Monday morning. I'm ready to get rolling. Let's get cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
if
feeling
this is
it.
in your feed a little early, it's because we recorded it a little early. So let's get right to our primary target a little early. Likely you've heard about this story. It broke mid last week, but Apple TV is getting Major League Soccer, all of it. MLS, Leagues Cup, select MLS Next, which are kind of, the youth soccer, and MLS Next Pro, which is sort of their minor leagues. There will be no local blackouts, no need for you to authenticate through a cable provider. MLS streaming service will be a channel add-on and will have every game, no blackouts and everything. We don't know how much that's going to cost, but it will be a channel add-on to the Apple TV app, and you won't have to subscribe to Apple TV Plus to add it. You won't need a base service. You'll be able to just use the Apple TV app with just the MLS streaming service if that's what you want to do. All matches plus whip around shows, highlights, goals and saves, original programming, highlights and analysis, all that sort of stuff. And that is also included in season ticket packages for MLS teams. If you're an Austin FC season ticket holder, you'd get this. You wouldn't have to pay extra for it. If you are an Apple TV Plus subscriber and you don't want to add on the service, you will still be getting a broad selection of MLS and League Cup matches as part of that service. And if you just use the Apple TV app and you don't pay for either of those things, there'll be a limited number of free matches there, similar to what they do on Fridays with Major League Baseball. This will also leave MLS free to strike some deals to simulcast matches on linear TV. So like Fox Sports 1 often does matches. A few other channels will have matches, and there will probably be some simulcast there. But again, these are all on Apple. There will be no blackouts, and the production is handled by Major League Soccer. So I guess one downside for some people is you won't have home and away broadcasts anymore. There'll just be one broadcast per match.
Although I wouldn't expect it to be too long until we get like two different audio feeds, one representing the voice of home, one representing
I was wondering
the
if
voice
if they would eventually do something like that, where they like radio. This doesn't cover radio broadcast, so maybe take the radio broadcast and use that if you want synced up. Would be kind of cool. This starts early 2023, by the way, and lasts 10 years through 2032.
So remind me, how much have we seen from Apple TV in terms of live events, live entertainment, live anything?
I don't think much of anything. If I'm not
Major League
mistaken.
Baseball, so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so which brings me to the second question. So we have
Apple keynote announcement.
Oh, yeah, actually, good point. Good point. So you have Major League Soccer that would have been kind of courting for a partner or thinking about doing everything entirely on their own, which leads me to this question that is so obvious that I can't tell if it's stupid obvious or smart obvious. But how much of this straight up is just based on the success of Ted Lasso?
I mean, I'm sure there will be. I'm sure I would be shocked if they didn't use Ted Lasso to promote it. You know, and you have that brand integration. But I mean, I don't. I don't think. I think MLS has slowly been growing over the years. I remember when I worked almost 10 years ago now at a syndicator for digital broadcast that ran the feeds for a lot of the apps for various leagues. MLS was a client, and MLS was kind of popular then, but popular enough that we were running feeds for it. It's only been slowly growing. It's like a blue chip stock where it never really dipped in popularity and just slowly grows in popularity. So it feels like it's just kind of, this is a moment to test the waters of, is MLS worthy of a big deal?
I have to stop you right there. This is when you do a 10-year contract, that is not dipping a toe into the water. That is a firm commitment.
Let me rephrase. Fair. Let me rephrase. This is the moment that kind of MLS has been waiting for. Like, okay, we're now worthy of the big contract. Like, we've reached a certain level of popularity.
I think it's even bigger than that, because MLS had the flexibility to do this deal in a way that NFL, Major League Baseball don't, because they've had a longer tail of agreements that tie them up. And so you see the NFL slowly saying, well, okay, we're going to take mobile back in house, and we're going to find a streaming partner probably for NFL Sunday Ticket. We're still waiting on that. Major League Baseball, on the other hand, has all these arcane, Baroque agreements with Sinclair and NBC, and then with Fox for national, and with NBC for national, and ESPN for national. And so it's a lot harder to just undo it and say, let's just do our own service, which is essentially what Major League Soccer is doing here. They're saying, we're going to control all our games. Apple is our partner for distribution, basically.
Right. Well, and part of the reason that there are two very good reasons for them to end up partnering with Apple. One is unlike Netflix, that has constantly been crowing about how we're not going to be live sports. We're not going to be live sports. We're not going to be live sports. Okay, maybe some driving sports. But Apple's never really hammered that they're offline premium, like movie, HBO content. And so as a result, having not committed one way or the other, they were in a position to do or not do this. Likewise, Major League Soccer, I think behind the scenes has probably been searching for a home, and a little spice on top. Ted Lasso certainly couldn't have hurt.
It could. Yeah, to get back to your question, I think it probably helped grease the wheels, right? It probably helped make Major League Soccer more amenable to talking to Apple. It probably helped them, like you said, Merrill, come up with some promotional ideas. Although I wonder if there's any NBC restrictions on that, since Ted Lasso was originally promoting soccer on NBC.
Well, they can rent out the character for
they
marketing.
Might have to pay a little extra.
They might have to pay a fee, but they'll probably rent out the
character. But yeah, I think it probably didn't clinch the deal, but it probably helped. It probably helped them say, like, yeah, look, we've got an audience who's now familiar with soccer and likes soccer, and we have some data to show that. This will be a great home for you. But honestly, it's probably mostly the money and the technology that gets Apple this deal.
Yep.
And it's a significant deal for streaming, because we're always talking about, okay, well, where's the sports? Here it is. Here's the sports. And it does point to the future of leagues showing up with services, the way that National Hockey League is now on ESPN Plus, the way that Major League Soccer is on Apple. I would suspect that NFL is looking for a partner for all of its non-national broadcast games. They're not going to get rid of national broadcast the way that MLS is here. I don't even think they'll do simulcast things, although that does point to an out for the NFL. They've got contracts for that stuff that last 10 years themselves. But I could see Sunday Ticket possibly. I mean, if Apple could snap that up instead of Amazon, and then suddenly Apple TV becomes the sports home, that's a coup.
I wonder how much of a sticking point it was during negotiations to have the carve out where you could get just the MLS part without also having to get Apple TV Plus.
I think that might have just been an Apple situation where Apple said, look, we have the cash to buy this deal. Let's not get in the way of people signing up for it. Let's make sure that because everybody's going to look at this deal. And I've seen people say this, like, well, I don't live in the Apple universe. And so Apple has a hill to climb to explain the Apple TV app does not require you to have an Apple TV, nor does it require you to have an Apple device. Although we'd really like it if you did, it'll be easier. You can put it on a Roku. You can put it on an Amazon TV. It's on Samsung and LG and all these places. So I think they wanted to reduce the friction to make it really easy for people to sign up for it.
And in that way, it reminds me a little bit about when they moved into, the iPod territory, the iPhone territory, where it's just like, hey, man, we don't care if you're a PC person or not. This is a pretty rad phone, though. And in an alternate universe where the iPhone didn't happen, I would still be staunchly anti-Apple device or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Additionally, this is also like a moment for sports in streaming, because up until the last couple years, it's always been about, I think it's the Big Four: NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL. Now we're starting to see the movement of the next tier down in sports leagues, right? So MLS is in that group. I put WWE in that group. That was the Peacock deal. There's currently talk right now AEW might become a proper Time Warner property at HBO Max. Or not become property, but they'll take the licensing deal. There's space for it, right? These leagues are not worth much to linear when they're up against the giants, but in streaming, where it's all about how getting little niche audiences culled together, this is a great place for that. And I think we're starting to see the beginnings of other second tier. I mean, second tier is the wrong word, but like in popularity in terms of scale.
Yeah.
Second tier sports leagues being valuable to these streamers.
We already saw overseas leagues pair up, right? Premier League went to Peacock. UEFA went to Paramount Plus. I think cricket went to Amazon Prime Video. I'm not sure if that's in the U.S., but I know they've got a deal with Indian cricket. So you saw that. This is the next wave, right? An actual national U.S. league goes with a U.S. company. The next bit is really interesting. You've got like the CFL on ESPN Plus. You've got NHL, but with blackouts on ESPN Plus, but still a deal with TNT and TBS, which puts some of the NHL games on HBO Max. I feel like we're going to be clawing away from those deals, and I'm wondering where that leaves the regional sports networks and Sinclair, because Sinclair, as you recall, has been fighting with all of the streaming providers like Sling and YouTube TV, and they're not on a lot of those providers because they want better deals, because they also want to provide their own streaming service that allows you access to their regional sports nets, but they don't have all the teams, and it's in the league's best interests to offer you all the teams. Sinclair isn't going to have any MLS under this deal, which makes it just a tiny bit less compelling if you don't have those situations. So I don't know where that leaves Sinclair in the future, because I don't think that's what the leagues are going to want to do.
Sinclair is a beast that I don't entirely understand. It's a weird hodgepodge chimera. So maybe that could be a segment we do in the future, is reminding people that the biggest unified network is one that you don't think of as a unified network. You think of it as that one local other place.
The short version of what Sinclair owns is what are now called the Bally Sports Nets, which used to be the Fox Sports Nets, which aren't in every region, and in every region that they have one, don't have all the teams. And it feels like they increasingly bought a piece of land that people are moving out of.
Yes. Well, and certainly because Sinclair is almost all broadcast, right?
Well, I'm talking specifically about the regional sports networks, which are on cable.
Got it.
But then Sinclair also has radio stations and TV stations and stuff like that. Yeah.
I see a world where they might look into figuring out how to enter the streaming space in some way.
Oh, they want to. Yeah. No, they've actually said that. They would like to create a Sinclair broadcast service around Bally's for sports.
I think they might have better luck trying to, like, as AVOD rises in popularity, just purchasing an AVOD outlet and making that their home. That might be
the only thing that they can do is get a sport. They're going to have to get a sport, because I think they thought, oh, we'll have all these regional deals and we'll cobble a service together out of that.
I've got it, man. Buy out the League of Fun Games, get yourself some marbles.
Yeah.
Get in early on
Sports
that.
marbles.
Now, absent that, they're going to have to fund things. They may use a service like Patreon, just like we do. Everybody who's keeping us loud, live, and independent makes it happen at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Tom, I'm sorry, you'll have to finish.
Brian, what happened?
I have four less things in my throat than I.
Oh no,
what's going
Tom!
on?
He's got 3-digit disease again.
Oh no, and it's gotten worse.
I thought they gave you a vaccine for that.
We need 4 people to give us $1 an episode over at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Otherwise, Brian won't be able to do the rest of this ad.
4 shots of $1 each infusion. Stat.
Explain the benefits.
And when you get so many great benefits too over at patreon.com/Cordkillers, you get access to our After Talk segment exclusively only for patrons. That's a little bit of talk where Tom and Brian and myself talk after the show. Isn't that fun? You get Spoilerin time a few days early, get email updates, get an easy RSS feed. There are so many ways that you can save Brian's life and get something out of it. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Look at Brian's shirt. Look at that shirt. Tell me that as a man you don't want to give money.
And if you're on audio, imagine that shirt.
Imagine
that shirt.
You could get to see that shirt. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's talk about how to watch. We often hear about ad companies targeting you based on an inordinate amount of personal data they can call upon that they've collected about you. We also occasionally joke about how this seems to end up with you seeing ads on every website for a product you just bought and therefore are no longer shopping for. Like, I bought the dog brush. Why do you keep showing me ads for the dog brush? I don't need another one. But the Wall Street Journal has another story about ineffective ads. A study by ad buying company Group M and ad measurement firm iSpot.tv found that about 17% of the ads shown on televisions connected to a streaming device, so we're talking Roku's, Apple TVs, Chromecast, etc., are playing while your TV screen is off. It happens most often when viewers are watching free streaming channels like on Pluto or Xumo or Roku's free channels because they just kind of forget that that's not regular TV. They turn off the TV screen, but not the streaming device. It's estimated that it results in a couple $2 billion worth of ads unseen by human eyes. Sometimes when you turn off the TV, the device gets the message through HDMI and turns itself off too, but not always. This pretty much doesn't happen if you use smart TV apps, since the apps stop running when you turn the TV off. It only happens with those connected devices. And so it sounds like everybody's trying to figure out how to fix this problem. There's going to be a lot of work to detect if your television is off, so that it can stop playing ads. I would imagine you're going to see more of those "are you still watching" things prompt you after a certain amount of time has passed if you haven't changed a channel or taken any kind of action in an app. I know DirecTV Stream does that after like 4 hours or something. But Brian, just wasted ads out there streaming to no one.
Hey, Tom, remember when we were unironically asking, what's the point of Nielsen? It turns out that there are little listening, snooping devices that detect whether or not ads are actually being watched and listened to matter. Yes, I think Nielsen is very thrilled to see this. I think the advertisers are thrilled that the study was completed. But I mean, we kind of see this all the time. So many news sites, you go there and it just starts auto playing without audio stuff, and it'll just keep on going as long as you're reading the article. I mean, they're just running up viewer hours. At
least in that case, you might see it versus the TV off. Like, nobody's going to see that. That's just lost.
I'd hate to say it, Tom, but until more people partner with your Arbitrons or your Nielsen's or whatever, with your external validators, then yes, the easiest solution, somebody at, Streaming HQ is going to say, put up one of those "are you still watching" things. And
I hate those. They're so annoying.
In the short term, the consumer's not going to have a good time.
I have 2 thoughts on this. Thought number one is, it shows that the algorithms are not as perfect as we like to pretend they are, right? The fact they can't detect that a television is off. That's the cute one.
Well, I mean, I don't see how they could, given that the box is giving a one-way export of stuff, and it's the fault of the consumer that they're not stopping. It's like You can't blame the garden hose for shooting out water when you're the one that turned it on and walked away.
And also, you know what I see a lot? I see a lot of the Roku screensaver ads, which are playing in the gym and nobody's watching them. How much of those ads are a part of this, where the TV is on and just nobody's watching it? How much of that is part of the 17%? Probably more than 0%.
It's not. This was actually counting when the TV is absolutely off.
Oh, okay.
Not even screensaver. So
that's even more.
Actually,
it's even worse
exactly.
than you'd think. Yeah.
So the other thing I think I'm thinking a lot about my days in retail, and there's a word in retail, Brian, I assume you're familiar with it, called shrinkage. And
I've never experienced it.
Perfectly natural.
In retail, the concept is shrinkage is theft or just missing merchandise. Things vanish in retail. It just kind of happens in big box retail. So this is kind of just I think this is just one of those, the goal. Of course, you want to make that number as small as possible. And I think they are trying to take steps to do that. But this is just one of those factors of the business that you just have to deal with, and you try to minimize it as best as you possibly can. But this is the shrinkage of streaming ads. Like, it's just a thing in the business model, and you just deal with it as best you can.
That was actually pretty close to the point Justin Robert Young made about this when we talked about it on DTNS last week. He's like, yeah, like magazines. You never know if people see the ads in magazines, and yet people kept paying for ads in magazines forever. Like, it's just kind of a step back because we're used to being able to track and know if someone clicked and all of that sort of thing. But it's really no different than the way ads have worked for decades. And centuries.
Magazines is a particularly good example because in boutique magazines, like, for example, Magic Magazine or what have you, if you're a small independent magic shop, you know you're paying your $800 and you get to see your full color ad, and you sitting alone at home just keep looking at your ad like, look at me, how many people must be looking at this ad? And then you buy online ads and it's like, I go to your website over and over and over again, keep refreshing, and I don't ever see my ad. Are you even showing it? And no amount of metrics or numbers emotionally will make you feel better. But if we've gotten to the point where finally people are trusting those numbers, and then we find out that not even those numbers are right, then yeah, that's a strong undercutting of your confidence for those ad dollars.
Yeah. And I know Renagu, I think, represents a fair portion of our audience when he says in the chat, wasted ads, what a tragedy. But the fact is, if people are feeling like their money is wasted, then they don't buy the ads, and then that means you don't get the content on the ad-supported stuff. It doesn't affect the Netflixes of the world who aren't doing ads yet, but it does affect, the making of content at another level. So it's worth keeping in mind.
Additionally, look, AVOD is the growth market. Streaming ads is the growth market. It's especially we're entering a economic situation where people are going to start cutting back on their subscription services, and they're going to start turning to AVOD to watch content they still want to watch that's available somewhere. So dealing with this issue sooner rather than later is absolutely the goal for everyone, because the better you can handle it, the more it's worth. The more it's worth, the better the content is. The better the content is, the more people watch, and then the cycle repeats.
Oh, and Uber Fuzzy pointed out HDMI ARC or eARC can communicate back to the device. And that's when I mentioned that some devices can tell if the TV's off, but not all. And that has to do with whether the device is implementing ARC that way and whether you're using HDMI ARC, right? Sometimes you might.
Yeah, not all the ports. Yeah, because not all the. I know I have an ARC, but I know there's an ARC port on mine, but it's not all of them. Only one of them is an ARC port.
Yeah. So the technology is there to be able to have the Roku tell if the TV is off, even if the Roku isn't part of the TV, but it's inconsistently implemented. And one of those in the future, this may not be a problem as devices get replaced, but that'll be a few years, if not many years. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under surveillance.
Brian, I'm just going to read this quote from Taika Waititi about his Star Wars movie, and then I would like you to tell me what you think of this quote from Taika Waititi about his Star Wars movie, okay?
Ready.
Taika Waititi told Total Film, quote, I'm tempted to do his voice, but I'm not going to do it. look, I think for the Star Wars universe to expand, it has to expand. I don't think that I'm any use in the Star Wars universe making a film where everyone's like, oh, great, well, that's the blueprints to the Millennium Falcon. Ah, that's Chewbacca's grandmother. That all stands alone. That's great. Though I would like to take something new and create some new characters and just expand the world. Otherwise, it feels like it's a very small story.
Tom, I don't know about you, but I personally find it very validating to find out that Taika Waititi watches Cordkillers. It means
Me
a
too.
lot to me.
Yeah.
It means he can
Not
come
only
on the
that,
show.
But he agrees with you and is quoting you, I think.
Yeah, although in a cooler accent, though.
Yeah. Cooler accent that I could say. I mean, yeah, is there anything for you to add to this?
No,
than Taika
just
Waititi serving up to you exactly what you want to hear?
The big question I have is about the timing of things, because I think that we all knew that it was always going to be the right play. I think I expected it to happen, I don't know, 5 years ago. There was a changing of the guards. Kathleen Kennedy has a reduced role in the way things are going now, and now we're seeing them getting closer and closer to the vision of the expanded universe novels writ large that I had been hoping for so very, very long.
I don't really show me some stuff that at this point. Like we've been talking a lot about all these new Star Wars ideas, and it's like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Great. At this point, I've heard enough talk. I want to see some stuff now. That's kind of like, show me the new stuff. Show me these new worlds, these new characters.
There ain't no shortage of new stuff. There is a shortage of new stuff that's not obsessed with the butt of the old stuff.
That's what. Yeah. When I say new stuff, I mean show me these new, the original characters that we're gonna. But these new, the next step in this franchise. Like, I love we're talking about it. Great, but we've been talking about it, Brian. I think we've been talking about it for a while. I'd like to now start seeing some stuff.
And I think this all makes sense, which is for 5 years, Kathleen Kennedy thought, you know what, we should just mine what's safe. It's risky to tell a brand new story because it might not capture what's great about Star Wars if we don't use the old characters. And people want expanded lore, and they love that. And that's one of the things they liked about the Legends universe was that it expanded the lore. I get where she was coming from. It doesn't seem to have worked entirely. The Mandalorian sort of pointed the way to you can start entirely disconnected and capture the spirit and then reconnect later if you want. And I think what Taika Waititi is saying is, I want to start where the Mandalorian did and go the other direction.
Yep.
And so the risky thing is, do you lose what attracts people to Star Wars if you do that? And Taika Waititi's gambling that he won't, that he can capture what people love about Star Wars without having to rely on showing you a familiar name, place, or whatever.
And I would watch an Old West medicine show where there's one dude with a floating train car filled with droids that we know going out into the wilds where people ain't never seen droids like these before. And he's extolling the virtues of moisture evaporators or whatever. Good God, there's so much story you could tell that they're not.
It's knowing the line, right, between what are the elements of the universe that make it Star Wars, like you were saying, a floating train and some droids, right? Boom, you immediately know, oh, that's Star Wars. That has the look of Star Wars. And what would be not Star Wars enough if you didn't use droids at all or whatever, and what would be too Star Wars, which is,
what we have right now.
Droids are all droids that were previously sold as toys.
Right.
I think also there's everybody's got their own idea of actually what that thing is. Like for me, it's always weird to me when I watch a Star Wars thing that lacks lightsabers. For me, that's like the thing. When I think Star Wars, I think lightsaber, right? There's other people who are like, it's the droids. There are other people who are like, it's the weird planets. Like everyone's got their weird things. So it's really hard to, codify that because so many things make up Star Wars to so many different people.
Yeah. I am also, like both of you, looking forward to seeing one of these things once it's ready and, good enough for Taika Waititi to say, yep, put it out there. Netflix is doing the thoroughly unsurprising thing of making a Squid Game reality show without the killing. 456 players will compete in Squid Game inspired games. So these are going to be some of the games from the actual show and other Korean children's games. There will be a $4.56 million cash prize, points off for not giving the prize in won, Netflix, but okay. Squid Game, the challenge, will have 10 episodes.
Do you think they, in keeping with the theme of the show, specifically get people who are deeply in debt?
That is a great question. No, I wonder if they. I shouldn't say no. No, they won't do that. But no, we don't know if that's part of that. I haven't seen anything about
I've
how
seen
they're selecting the contestants.
On the casting page, and I'm sure this is part of every reality show, but they say like, how much money do you need?
Right.
What do you need? How much would help change your life? It's
so
a very
good.
explicit
So
question.
they're trying to have an aspect of that as part of the show. Yeah.
They're all holders of Ethereum.
The okay. I don't believe that there was a fun joke that went around the day this was announced, and it's a fair joke. Way to just miss the entire point of your thing. Now, I think Netflix takes that into account. They're like, yes, we know what the moral is. Also, we have a brand. We want to maximize it as much as possible. And if you're a business like Netflix, you're going to maximize the brand instead over that's going to dominate over the feeling.
Hold on. It's not too late for them to have not missed the point at all, as long as wealthy people can gamble on it. If there's a gambling exchange on top of this, then they've exactly nailed the point. Poor people in debt debasing themselves for the amusement of wealthy people. Chef's kiss.
So it's like,
put that on my tombstone.
Look, I mean, also it's just like, it's a little uninspired for Netflix because it's literally not even. It's not like it's a twist. It's just the show. It's just the game without.
You're right. It's just the thing that was the most popular thing they've ever done, and they're only doing more of it. Who could support that?
Incredibly popular. People are going to watch the hell out of this because people watch the hell out of reality shows on Netflix that have nothing to do with the previous property. So as long as the execution of this as a reality game works, then yeah.
God, please let me gamble on this. Please let me gamble on this.
Yeah.
I feel like Netflix won't be brave enough to partner with DraftKings on this.
But DraftKings might do it themselves though. Like nothing's stopping them from. Nothing's stopping DraftKings from just making it a thing, which would just make this more hilarious.
We also have Westworld returning on Sunday, June 26th. Final trailer was out. Brian, when last we checked, you were going to participate in Spoilerin time as Bryce and I watched Westworld, but you would not watch it until right before the final episode.
I could be talked into doing that still, but meanwhile, Westworld. Tom, in one sentence, what's it about?
It's about escaped artificial intelligence robots trying to make their way in the world and change the world that created them.
Right. Okay. And the bad guy is
the world.
And the good guy is...
Oh, but also the world as represented by the Man in Black.
Okay.
And the good guy is Jesse Pinkman.
Well, yeah, maybe. He does a lot of murder and a lot of merc work.
For good. He does murder for good.
Westworld.
Yeah. So when you say you could be talked into that, does that mean you'd also?
What I mean is, I think you just talked me out of live watching it. I think you just talked me into not watching it live.
But you're into binging it at the end.
Yes.
Okay. This is going to be an interesting experiment. Merrill, what about you? Where are you on Westworld?
I give up on Westworld halfway through season 1. I have no opinion on this in any direction. I'm happy for all you. I'm glad you're all loving it, but it never hit the chord for me that it hit for a lot of people.
And on DraftKings, you'll be able to bet on whether Brian finishes the binge.
Now that's a better.
Again, Westworld returning Sunday, June 26th. HBO has some 7 or so Game of Thrones spinoffs in development when last we checked. The only one for sure hitting the air at this point is House of the Dragon, which is a prequel coming August 21st. But there's another entrant. The Hollywood Reporter says there's another one in development with Kit Harington reprising his role as Jon Snow. That would be the only one of the shows in development to set the events after Game of Thrones.
I'm going to be so fascinated to see how this plays out, because my gut, if I'm placing a DraftKings bet, it's that that whole property is scorched earth. I don't think anybody wants to go back. I don't think anybody wants to invest again the way they did the first time, for fear of the level of disappointment that we experienced at the end of it.
House of the Dragon will be an interesting test of that. HBO certainly sinking development money to bet against that premise. And it is an amazingly interesting move to say, so you hated the ending. Let's take someone from the ending that we know you mostly liked up until the ending, and then build an entire sequel around them after it.
Ryan, I could not disagree with you more, my friend. Let me ask you a question. Did you like the Star Wars prequels?
No.
Did everyone run out to go see The Force Awakens?
Yes.
And what's the state of Star Wars today? What is your argument here?
It's making a lot of
The
money,
point,
Brian.
no. The argument is you believe that the entire franchise is scorched earth because of the ending of Game of Thrones. No, it's not scorched earth. The series is now scorched earth because everyone who tells someone to go watch it is going to have to be told it's really great for 3 years, and then it starts to really get weird. But people want to love that franchise still, and they're going to continue returning to it in the hopes that it can recapture the magic of those first 3 seasons. So I think that there's absolutely reason to sink development money into this. There's absolutely reason to hope that there'll be performance out of House Dragon. Now, HBO has already done 2 spinoffs. One of them is going to series. The other one didn't get past the pilot. So it's hit or miss on development at this moment. So it's going to really come down to House of Dragon. If House of Dragon pops, it's going to really steamroll the development forward. If House of Dragon whimpers, they're going to then the only one that will be viable is the Jon Snow one, because he's the one character everyone agrees on. But, how does it happen? I don't know. HBO's a weird place. Look, they didn't pick up the J.J. Abrams show. Like, they say no to big stuff a lot. So
we hear you loud and clear. Who knows?
George R. R. Martin must have given them a really compelling pitch for them to pick up a sequel and convince Kit Harington to join it. If Hollywood Reporter is right, I don't know. Maybe their source is flawed too. We'll have to see. All right, let's talk about what we've had our eyes on. Something you've been watching, Merrill, that you want to let folks know about.
Speaking of dragons, for the last few weeks, I've been noticing a bunch of friends tweeting about a particular movie that I've known about, I've seen before, that I'm obsessed with ever since I first discovered it around 5 years ago. And it turns out it's because it's on Hulu now. And the movie is Reign of Fire, which is a dragon movie starring Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale circa 2002. It is it's set 20 years in the future from when it came out. So it was set in 2020. About dragons rise up from hibernation and lay waste to the entire earth and burn all organic matter to ash and consume that ash. And basically, all the myths about dragons are actually true. And it was just, they're not magical. They're just basically prehistoric dinosaurs that keep going in and out of hibernation cycles. And it's about the last vestiges of humanity trying to defeat them. And Matthew McConaughey plays this badass soldier with the coolest name ever, Denton Van Zandt. And it's a great movie. Strong recommend if you have never seen Reign of Fire.
Cool.
20th anniversary.
20th anniversary of Reign of Fire, yeah.
Tom, I ain't watched nothing. What about you?
Really? Nothing, huh?
Literally. This is what happens when your wife and daughter go to New York and you're left with a dog with a urinary tract infection and
Yeah, been
Just
there.
you don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a shout out for Ms. Marvel, which has now got 2 episodes out. Third one coming this week. It is fun. It is better than I could expect. If you want the best review of it, I would go look up former guest of the show Kuhan on TikTok. He's been doing good reviews of Ms. Marvel there, and it's not as youth oriented as you might have thought. It's very targeted at a teen to early 20s audience for sure. But I adored it. I thought it was super fun, and I like what they're doing with the character to differentiate her within the cinematic universe versus what the character's powers are in the comic books. Acting's great. Story so far after 2 episodes, super tight. So if you are like, I only want the best Marvel shows on Disney Plus, hold off. We still have a few more episodes. I don't feel comfortable saying that until we've seen them all. But if you're like, yeah, I just want to make sure that it's, above Falcon and the Winter Soldier level before I jump in, I'd say you're pretty safe. This is a pretty fun show.
The thing about that show for me is it's Scott Pilgrim by way of the MCU. And the thing that's annoying me right now is it's doing that thing that a lot of shows targeted at younger audiences do, where it tries to act like it knows what they're after, and it's like, oh, kids always have short attention spans and they love bright colors and all this. Like, babies do, but not teenagers, and not 20-year-olds,
and not Meryl.
Not Meryl. And so it's shot like a Disney Channel show.
This is just like when Tom was bagging on Rain of Fire. Oh wait, that part didn't happen. I'm sorry. What else? What are we on the lookout for?
On it. I like it.
We got an email.
That's criticism.
We got an email from Steven, who sent in this suggestion. Steven writes, "Hi, Killers. My wife and I have been thoroughly enjoying a new series on Paramount Plus here in Australia called The Man Who Fell to Earth, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor, apologies, and Naomi Harris. It is based off of the David Bowie movie of the same name. The performance by Chiwetel is fantastic and engaging, along with a truly empathetic performance by Naomi. Do yourself a favor and start watching it. Only 3 episodes are out so far, and we are eagerly awaiting each new episode. Keep up the great work. Your boss, Steven." Thank you, Steven. So this is airing on Showtime in the U.S., The Man Who Fell to Earth, and it's on Paramount Plus internationally, which is how Steven is seeing it in Australia. The final episode that's still airing weekly right now, but the final episode will be out on the 3rd, July 3rd. So check that out. That's Showtime in the U.S., Paramount Plus. It's called The Man Who Fell to Earth. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, email it to us, please. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Thank you.
I had been holding off on this because I love the movie, but it's also, dated. And so I was curious how they would update it and make it work. So thank you, Stephen, for this. This may nudge me to give it a try. Because I really adore the story, and I hoped it was in good hands. Sounds like it might have been.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, you have something in the works that I know you should probably tell folks about.
Yeah, dude. First of all, we made a special trip up to Dallas, Texas to actually build a Doghouse system with the folks over at Doghouse Systems. We're going to put together an episode of it. Then we're going to give away what I believe is a $5,000 gaming rig.
Yes.
It is a beast. So please, please, please support our friends over at Doghouse Systems. If you're going to buy a PC, unparalleled customer service, be on the lookout for a big, big Doghouse Systems promotion. Until then, go to doghousesystems.com/rogue. Use promo code ROGUE at checkout. Get a free SSD.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, let's move on to the front lines.
Frontlines.
On Thursday, Roku announced a partnership with Walmart. Viewers will be able to use their remote device during shoppable TV commercials, if the screen is on, to choose a product and then check out using Roku Pay. Products will be fulfilled by Walmart. They'll handle all the returns and customer service aspect of that. Also, Roku changed its terms requiring FAST channels, the free ad-supported channels like Pluto, to use some of Roku's in-house tech. Roku is also reducing rev share with fast channels from 50% to 45%. And of course, all those channels have pointed out that Roku owns its own FAST channel, the Roku channel. And isn't that odd that they've reduced the rev share and changed the terms? Pray they don't alter them further.
And starting on June 19th, Fubo TV viewers will be able to place bets on live games. Most users will be able to place bet points for chances at a shot at the leaderboard. That sounds carefully chosen. But users in Iowa and Arizona can use actual cash. Fubo has offered betting through a separate app, but in the new system, you can scan a QR code from the live stream before the game starts in order to place the bet. Fubo joins DAZN, is it pronounced?
DAZN, yeah.
DAZN, there we go, and Sling in integrating betting into their TV service.
And I did choose those words carefully when I wrote that. Thank you for noticing.
Yes.
Because you could only actually bet in those two states at this point. But we'll see. Maybe you'll be able to bet somewhere else. But yeah, betting integrated into sports, and yet Pete Rose still not in the Hall of Fame. iQIYI is China's second largest streaming platform, and one of the ways people can get dramas from all over Asia worldwide. It has close to 100 million subscribers, although most of those are in China. Reuters reports that its parent company Baidu, however, is putting its 53% stake in the company up for sale. So it's part of the crackdown on tech in China affecting one of the biggest streaming platforms.
And Amazon Prime Video is adding Kakao to its stable of add-on channels. Kakao is part of a joint venture from the top 3 Korean broadcasters and already supplies some content to Wiki and other platforms.
I'm sorry, that should be Viki.
Yeah.
I didn't choose my letters carefully.
I didn't do a good enough impression of Chekhov.
Viki, where the nuclear vessels are.
Or actually, yeah.
Here are a few other items to round up. Several outlets report that Lady Gaga has been cast to play Harley Quinn alongside Joaquin Phoenix in a new Joker movie, and that it will be a musical.
What those words did to me.
An anime movie called The Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim, set 183 years before the events of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, has cast Brian Cox as Helm Hammerhand. He's of Helm's Deep fame, if you don't know. Nickelodeon is working on 3 new Avatar: The Last Airbender animated films and TV series, a couple films and a TV series. The Uncharted movie will arrive on Netflix July 15th. A trailer is out for season 2 of Only Murders in the Building, coming back to Hulu June 28th. And HBO Max officially approved a 3rd season of Hacks, Brian. It's going to happen.
Yay, hooray. Genuine hooray at Hacks. Joaquin Phoenix... Harley Quinn is a musical. I could see it.
I would like to add on the Avatar news that we actually know what those 3 movies are going to be centered on, and also they're getting theatrical releases. I forget her name, the cool like kabuki person from Last Airbender.
Zuki, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. One will be about Zuki. One will be about Zuko. One will be about Korra. And they're going to be in 2023, 2024, 2023, 2024, 25, or 2024, 25, 26. And they're all going to be theatrical releases.
Wow.
But is Joaquin Phoenix going to sing?
I think he will. I think they're going to. I don't know what they with the first movie they already set up.
They sort of toyed around with it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that he's delusional. So this could all be a delusion.
And let me tell you guys about Only Murders Left in the Building.
Is it going to have Lady Gaga in it as Harley Quinn? Also, I'm not sure how I feel about Harley Quinn not being played in the style of... I can think of as Kaylee Cuoco, who voices the animated, but it's the same. She does a version of the Harley Quinn that's the same as...
Margot Robbie?
Yes.
Thank you, Margot Robbie. I imagine Lady Gaga won't be doing a Margot Robbie style Harley Quinn. And I'm very attached to that style of Harley Quinn, is all I'm saying.
But I'm also attached to the style from the HBO Max series. It's a very confusing time.
Well, the Kaylee Cuoco HBO Max series is doing the Margot Robbie, like, exaggerated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Gaga's going to do a version of that, too, except singing.
Okay. Dispatches from the front.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Time to clear up a misunderstanding. Brian, really, writes Andrew. As an owner of both Roku TV and of older parents, I can guarantee that whoever buys who, Netflix is not giving up their name. Netflix is an app everyone opens that is in everything. Roku is a box people sometimes forget the name of. Netflix wants to sell ads. Roku sells ads. Giving people a free, cheap option of Netflix with ads is a whole lot less work than a whole rebranding.
I think Andrew largely just restated exactly what I stated last week. And yes, Andrew, it is the easy thing to just add ads to Netflix, and that's how you ruin a brand. When's the last time you saw somebody's jaw drop when they found out that their friend bought a Cadillac? There was a time that having a Cadillac was hyper exclusive. Then they made them cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, didn't tell anyone, and now a Cadillac doesn't mean anything. That's what I'm saying is Netflix can preserve the integrity of their brand by letting Roku be the larger umbrella. Roku remains the box. Roku provides the ads, and it's Netflix brought to you by Roku.
It's the prestige programming of Netflix,
and we've
on the ad-supported Roku channel is kind of what you're proposing.
Exactly, and we've already seen that with HBO Max. HBO, I said it was going to be a disaster to call it HBO Max because it was going to ruin the brand of HBO, but instead, Max has become the umbrella term. It's a Max original, not an HBO original. It's a Max original, and I think they'll do the similar thing with the Roku and Netflix.
Is your comparison more akin to like saying Roku is the Meta and Netflix is the Facebook?
Well, last week's episode, what I mentioned was technically AOL bought Time Warner, and for 20 minutes it was AOL Time Warner. Then they realized, nope, let's reverse that, and I think that is what they're going to do. When you think of ads, you don't think of Netflix. If they're in the business of selling ads, you're going to want to use the word Roku, not Netflix.
Also, this really has no relation to your point, but it's just funny to think that not only did Time Warner spit AOL out, it then got bought by Verizon, who spit it out and merged it with Yahoo.
Oh, wow. That's
crazy.
Crazy.
Where it is now. Also, Patreon boss 97 Ron pointed out if Roku stock has dropped 80%, then a friendly merger might be better than a hostile takeover. Keep up the good work. Fair point. And finally, not quite finally, Josh wrote in and said, hey team, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how for casual fans like me, WWE is an easy pick when it comes to pro wrestling. I jumped back onto pro wrestling when I randomly found both their weekly shows on Hulu. From there, I was back into the storylines and was subscribing to the WWE network on and off based on the pay-per-view. But then once the network moved to Peacock, I have no problems as I have both subscriptions and can watch all my WWE content without having to pay for another service. I know AEW is the new upstart, but it is only on cable and TNT, and they still charge $60 for their pay-per-views on Bleacher Report's website. I really want to watch AEW, but they are not making it easy. Given their Warner connection, do you expect they might come to HBO Max?
I think Merrill was talking about exactly this earlier, right?
Yes, I was. Let me don my Justin Robert Young cap for a second.
Your mask.
Look, there was a lot of questions on this show. Even I don't think I was here for it. About WWE and Peacock deal. Was this the right move? And it's like it was the right move. It was the right move for WWE. It was the right move for Peacock. It's a way to get sports without getting sports, right? Because it is professional wrestling. And you know, HBO Max is gonna need sports, and they have this relationship with AEW right now. There's talk that there's this shifting state of the TNT and TBS branch where AEW currently lives, and there's talk of like, would it move to HBO Max? It absolutely should, especially under this new Warner Discovery deal. It's the right move for them. And professional wrestling is having a really interesting moment right now, probably the best moment it's had since the 80s and 90s, where streaming services are prime territory because there's so much professional wrestling out there. There's not just WWE, there's AEW, there's also Impact Wrestling, there's Major League Wrestling, there's so much on top of all the ancillary wrestling content like your Dark Side of the Ring, for example, which is doing great on various AVOD platforms right now. This is a WWE and Peacock was a great pairing. I think AEW and HBO Max would make a great pairing. And just professional wrestling is just a really good content generator for streaming services as a whole.
I wonder if there is a deal with AEW and HBO Max, if that doesn't come along as part of the eventual super service that they plan to merge HBO Max with Discovery Plus, right? And then they throw AEW into that.
I mean, I wonder if it's less of a super service though. It's more just going to be HBO Max just gets flooded with a ton of like suddenly Mythbusters is available on HBO Max, and it's like, oh, bring it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that wraps it up for us today. Merrill, before we go, let folks know where they can find more of what you do.
As per usual, you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/Merrill Barr, MERRILLBARR. Come by, wish me a happy birthday. It's my birthday week, so yay.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays, usually a little early this week, but usually at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you next time.
Hey, Tom Merritt, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out here watching this scroll go by. What are you doing?
Trying to set up a bit where we thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons, all these wonderful names.
I'm sorry, I'm too distracted looking at these beautiful, beautiful patron names going by. Look at that one. I mean, if you wanted to be one of these people, patreon.com/Cordkillers would be the place to go.
I mean, they're scratching our itch, like, because we're addicted.
As long as it's consensual, like,
we're addicted to their money.
And love. Might as well face it.
Well, God damn it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.